Hi, I thought I might add a PowerPoint to the lesson this week on Kairos analysis. Your essay one is to write a Kairos analysis about Bill Moyer's reports, Earth on Edge. Terms from Chapter 2 of Rhetorical Analysis, a brief guide for writers, include type of discourse. There were three choices: deliberative, epideictic, or judicial. Kairos is, of course, defined in the chapter about Kairos. Kairos is the historical and cultural context, the moment of the speech, of the text, of the broadcast. The forum, where was the film made available for viewing, to what audience. The occasion, what sort of cultural meaning is given, is based upon the time and the circumstances of the first airing of this broadcast. And of course the exigence, the public need for the speech. So here we go. Types of discourse, and here are the three. Judicial discourse is the sort of speech that happens in a courtroom. Judicial discourse judges deeds and punishes actions that happened in the past. Your book tells you that a deliberation about student plagiarism is also judicial because it determines fault and it hands down punishment. See on page 13. Deliberative discourse, a second kind, is common in a legislature where laws are made. Deliberative discourse states what actions will be taken in the future. Also on page 13. And epideictic discourse is concerned with praise or blame in the present. It's what's going on now. Epideictic discourse does not judge past actions nor determine future ones. Instead, epideictic discourse is intended to shape people's attitudes toward a topic or an issue. So in terms of the Bill Moyer's broadcast, those 14 minutes or so that I asked you to watch, does it seem to you to be judicial discourse, talking about something that happened in the past and punishing it? Does it seem to be deliberative discourse, where it legislates actions or behaviors or policies that should happen in the future? Or does it seem to you to be epideictic discourse, praising and or blaming actions that are taken in the present? Which of the three would you say best represents the broadcast that you've been assigned to watch? Kairos analysis. Going a little deeper here. Kairos means time in Greek. In rhetoric, Kairos refers to a historical and cultural moment in which a text or recording was released. In a rhetorical context, Kairos can mean a minute, a year, a generation, or more. One could consider, for example, the colonial period, hundreds of years, or the early Middle Ages, also hundreds of years. That could be considered a moment for certain texts that were produced in those times. For example, in politics, Kairos is usually one news cycle a day. When a newscast shows a picture of a governor posing in blackface while in medical school decades ago, the Kairos is not the date the picture was taken, but the date of the broadcast. During that news cycle, the 24 hours after the report, leaders call for that governor's resignation. These calls, or some of them were tweets, may be called kairotic because they respond in the moment, the 24-hour news cycle. Kairos can be much longer, however. News reports over the decades suggest that Central and Southern California have had drought years, which would imply that there have been years without drought. Yet I cannot recall a time when the public hasn't been urged to conserve water here. Perhaps water conservation is just good policy. However, since we have, California has an aqueduct, an elaborate system of canals, dams, and reservoirs to bring water from the Sacramento Delta down to Central and Southern California. So the obvious conclusion there is that Central and Southern California have never had enough water to support our current residential and economic development in these areas. Anyway, so that being the case, the Kairos for a discussion about water in California is not of the moment. It's not this particular year or 1977. The Kairos for a discussion about water in California is just over 100 years old. And it's not because of a lack of water here, it's because of a presence of people. Okay, here we go. You were also asked to examine the occasion and the forum of the broadcast. The occasion would be what compelled Bill Moyers to make this broadcast. What did he learn about human action in the ecosystem? From whom did he learn it? The forum in rhetoric is where the speaker and the audience meet. Also page 13 in your book. The forum for Bill Moyers Reports Earth on Edge is a 2001 PBS broadcast. Your analysis of the forum should consider the situation people were in when they watched the program. If it helps, it most likely aired during prime time. Bill Moyers is very, very popular on PBS. Adult watching, educated viewers. The exigence is another aspect that you're to examine for this particular broadcast. Exigence refers to a subject, a topic, or an issue that both the rhetor and the audience want to discuss. In this case, the rhetor is Bill Moyers, and the audience is the people who watch and support PBS. Since PBS runs on donations, not on corporate advertising, there is no third-party interest to dilute or negate the message. Citizens of the United States have asked for decades, well, if global warming is really happening and corporate America is really causing it because of their manufacturing and their fossil fuel, why don't we hear more about it? Maybe it has something to do with the fact that all of our network stations run on corporate dollars. You might think about that. PBS doesn't. The people who watch it pay for it. Okay, so PBS runs on donations. Why would Bill Moyers and his audience, the people who pay to watch him, feel a need to discuss the topic at hand? So you want to know somewhat about Bill Moyers, and you want to know somewhat about the people who watch PBS at night, and the people who watch Bill Moyers, which is lots and lots of people. Okay, and last, of course, the audience's presuppositions. You are to gather, based upon your Kairos analysis of Bill Moyers' reports Earth on Edge, what were the audience's presuppositions about this topic? Pre means before, and a supposition would be a thought or an assumption, a thinking about what is true. So presuppositions are, what did the audience think before they watched the broadcast? So what did the audience already know about water shortages before watching this segment of this show? Segment meaning you were asked to watch about 14 minutes of it, not the whole thing. What did this audience most likely not know before they watched the broadcast and learn while they were watching it? Do you think that this audience knew that non-native plant species use more water than native species, for example? Do you think that they knew things about South Africa and maybe did not know other things about South Africa? Okay. And finally, do you think that Bill Moyers' audience would be able to extrapolate information from the broadcast and deduce that perhaps there are plants in the United States that were brought over from Eurasia that use a lot more water than the native species? Just saying. What are the plants that are native to Central California, for example, and what sorts of things have we put in our croplands, and what sorts of things have we put in our yards? Have we planted things here that come from other parts of the world that get more water than we do here? Could we extrapolate the message from that video? So Bill Moyers' audience, wherever they are in Idaho and Kentucky and New Mexico, California, New York, do you think that watching this program they would think about what they've planted in their yards or what food plants they put on their tables? Anyway, So this is the way in which you will develop your paper. You will give thought to the type of discourse, whether it's deliberative, epideictic, or judicial. You will give thought to the kairos, the historical and contextual, the historical and cultural context, the moment. Again, Bill Moyer's programs are made in the United States, so you can assume that he's thinking of an American audience, although PBS is probably broadcast in most parts of the world now. The forum, where was the film made available for viewing? So that would be PBS, and who is the audience would be largely supporters of PBS, people who watch it, and usually those people also pay for it. They give yearly or monthly donations to public broadcasting. The occasion, what sort of cultural meaning is given based upon the time and circumstances of the first airing. So you're going to be thinking about 2001 and what is going on in the world, what are the scientists noticing, what are the scientists doing about it, and what does the public know. And the exigence, again, is the public need for the speech. So what does that audience and that rhetor, Bill Moyers, need? Why do they need to talk about it? Okay, and that is the type of analysis that you will be doing for your essay 2. Your essay 1. You're using chapter 2, but this is on your essay 1. Okay, have fun.